Hi everybody, TJ Mac Vintage Cards, and in today's video I'm going to show a couple new additions to my 1968 Year of the Pitcher subset I'm working on. So one of the things I like to do in my collection is just build these groupings of cards. And I'll put the video that I previously done on the year 1968 so you can get the background on it in the link below or in the description below. And in case you haven't seen it. But this is a subset I'm putting together of the pitchers that had a great season in 1968. It's either going to be their rookie card or their first solo playing card. So today I'm putting out here this beautiful 1963 Topps Sam McDowell. It's got the beautiful yellow full bleed, just such a vibrant, sharp color there on the bottom of that 63 Topps card. Now this would be his second year card, because he had a multiplayer card issued in 1962. So as I said, I want to use solo cards for this project. So why did I decide to include Sam McDowell in this group of the great pitchers of 1968? Well, the reason why is that he led the major leagues that year with 283 strikeouts, and he was third in the league with ERA with a 1.81. Now, he was a bit of a hard luck pitcher that year. He finished with a 15-14 record. But I think it's remarkable that he had a 1.81 ERA, but he led the league in walks with 110. And that was very much how McDowell's career went. He was a great strikeout pitcher, but he also would walk a lot of guys. Now, he grew up as a pitching phenom as a senior in high school. In 1960, he had an 8-0 record. He did not allow a single earned run, and he struck out 152 batters in just 63 innings. Now, when he was getting out of high school, 15 teams wanted to sign him, but the Indians won the sweepstakes, giving him a $75,000 contract in 1960. Now, he was known as Sudden Sam McDowell, and he got the nickname Sudden, and it came from Harmon Killebrew. And McDowell's first start in 1961 as a teenager, he broke 2 ribs because he was throwing so hard in that game. He pitched 6 1/3 shutout innings, and after the game, they asked the Twins about that teenager, Sam McDowell. And Harmon Killebrew said that his fastball really gets up there all of a sudden. So that's where the nickname Sudden Sam McDowell came from. He was known for a blazing fastball that could get well over 100 miles per hour in his prime, a sharp curve, and a hard slider. Some believed he threw faster than Koufax. Sudden Sam even made the cover of the May 23, 1966 Sports Illustrated with the caption, "Faster than Koufax?" with a question mark at the end. The comparison of the two left-handed strikeout kings was a hot discussion around the major leagues at the time. Now, though he faced Killebrew, Mantle, and Maris, among others, during his playing days, there was one slugger who McDowell really dreaded, and it was the Washington Senators' Frank Howard, which that's his card right there. And he was a big 6'8" first baseman and outfielder of the time, great power hitter. And Howard caused McDowell so much trouble that Cleveland manager Al Dark would shift McDowell, who's a southpaw, so he's a left-hander, to second base, where you would never move a left-hander to second base normally when Howard came to the plate. And Dark would insert another pitcher in so he could face Howard, and then after that batter was retired, he would put McDowell back on the mound afterwards again. So he didn't want to pull him out of the game. So you can add that to McDowell's list of accomplishments. He was one of the last left-handed second basemen in Major League history. Now, McDowell is one of the best pitchers in baseball for 7 seasons, and I think he was elite in 3 of them. Unfortunately, he ran into problems with alcoholism, abuse of amphetamines, and barbiturates, which led to his decline. It was also said that he wasn't really overly interested in baseball. He preferred football. Well, McDowell played a total of 15 seasons from 1961 to 1975 with the Indians, Giants, Yankees, and Pirates. He finished with 141 and 134 record with a 3.17 ERA. He appeared in 6 All-Star games, led the American League in strikeouts 5 times, including 2 300-plus strikeout seasons. He led the majors 3 years in a row in strikeouts from 68 to 70. When he retired, only Nolan Ryan and Sandy Koufax had a higher strikeout rate per 9 innings than Sudden Sam. Now, this is a really interesting statistic. There have only been 13 pitchers who led their league in strikeouts 5 or more times. Sam McDowell is the only one of those 13 pitchers that is not in the Hall of Fame. And I find that very interesting. It just shows you the caliber of pitcher and the talent this guy had. Now, when he retired, he hit rock bottom. He got into several barroom brawls and eventually lost his family just through divorce and just, issues that he had. He was deeply in debt. but he was a man of principle, and he vowed to pay back his debt in full, and he lived up to his promise. He ultimately did become clean and sober. He found personal fulfillment with the challenge of being a counselor and an alcohol rehabilitation worker. Now, it's said that the character Sam Malone in the iconic sitcom Cheers, played by Ted Danson, was loosely based on Sam McDowell. What I love is that he turned his life around by overcoming his addiction and did a lot of good in the world after that and throughout baseball. Just real happy to have this card in my collection. Second card I added to this group is this Jim Catfish Hunter. Now, this is his second-year card, 66 Topps. His 65 Topps is a multiplayer card. And I'll be honest with you, I debated about including him in this group because he didn't have a great year in 68 like the other pitchers. He was just 13-13 with a 3.35 ERA, and he didn't rank in the top 10 in any of the major pitching categories. But I think he had the most memorable pitching performance that year on May 8th, 1968, when he pitched a perfect game against the Minnesota Twins, winning 4-0. It was only the third American League perfect game since 1922, and to this day, there have only been 23 perfect games in all Major League Baseball history. You know what's really sad about this, though, is that he did it in front of a home crowd of just 6,298 people. Hunter was an 8-time All-Star who went on to win 5 World Series, a Cy Young in 1974, and he was inducted into the Hall of Fame. So I do think he's worthy for inclusion in this group just because especially of that perfect game that he had that year. So now we're up to 10 players in this group. I just added Sam McDowell and Jim Catfish Hunter on the end here. Just a really sweet-looking group of cards here and just captures that 1968 season. And I will be putting this on display when I'm done. There's still a few more cards that I want to add to this group, and I'm going to continue to do that. Just a fun time I'm having here with this project. And the last thing I'm going to show today is what I think the player who is the greatest athlete that I ever saw in my lifetime is Bo Jackson. And with the All-Star game coming up next week, I think it is, right? And I just want to recognize him because I just remember that 1989 All-Star game and just how spectacular he was that year overall and just really how much he was in the public consciousness that year. But it even happened before that, and I just added this card here on the end, the 1988 Topps rookie card of Bo Jackson. And just a little bit about Jackson, he passed on a $250,000 offer from the New York Yankees out of high school, and then he went to Auburn where he played baseball and football. And despite winning the 1985 Heisman Trophy, he didn't go with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as the number 1 overall pick in the 1986 draft that year, and instead accepted an offer from the Kansas City Royals. And a year later, Jackson went into the NFL draft again, and the Raiders took him in the 7th round. And owner Al Davis allowed Jackson to report to the team after finishing up his baseball commitments for that year. And the 6'1", 227-pound running back suited up for the 87 season. And it was during the 87 season that Jackson went up against the number 1 pick in the draft by the Seattle Seahawks and linebacker Brian Bosworth. And I don't know if anybody really remembers him too well, but if you grew up in that time, you probably did. His nickname was the Boz, and he was certainly more of a character than he was of a football talent. And he was really good at marketing himself. And there was this anticipated Week 11 matchup on Monday Night Football between the Seahawks and the Raiders. And prior to the game, the arrogant Bosworth said he would contain Bo Jackson. And Brian Bosworth did anything but that on Monday Night Football that year. After starting his NFL season in Week 7, Bo Jackson was averaging 63.6 yards per carry in his first 4 games. And then against the Seahawks, he had something to prove facing Bosworth. And he had the best game of his career that day. Jackson ran for 221 yards on 18 carries, and he scored 3 touchdowns. 2 of those TDs were against the legendary Brian Bosworth, and it debunked the mystique of the Boz. In the second quarter, on a 3rd and 6 from his own 9-yard line, Jackson busted out for a 91-yard run, leaving Bosworth in the dust. And at the end of the run, in a now famous NFL highlight, Jackson keeps running right up to the tunnel after he scored his touchdown, and his teammates chased him in to celebrate. But the truly iconic moment came in the 3rd quarter on another 3rd down, this time from the 2-yard line. Jackson took a pitch from quarterback Mark Wilson and ran to the left. Bosworth met Jackson at the line of scrimmage. Jackson, one of the most physical runners in the NFL has ever seen, ran right through the defender. He dragged Bosworth into the end zone for the score, and as legend has it, when the running back got up, he told the linebacker, "Next time, make sure that you have bus fare." The Raiders went on to win that game 37-14. So Bo Jackson was just a very important player in my youth, and like I said, I think he was the most talented athlete that I ever saw in my life, and I have a feeling a lot of you will agree with that as well who saw him play. He was just a marvel to watch, and I was so happy that I grew up at a time where I got to enjoy him, even though he only had a short run in the spotlight in both baseball and football. I hope everybody has a great weekend, and we'll talk again soon. Thank you.